3rd and 4. Hayes goes left, Allworth right. Hayes will be covered by Willie Williams. Allworth by Athens. Foul back. Will be wiped out at the 35. Good pressure. Al Peck coming on the blitz from his linebacking position. Brett Dreyer pressuring, and Carl Lockhart coming on the safety blitz.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video, and welcome to the Gridiron. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's watched my videos. Maybe subscribe to my channel, maybe give my videos a thumbs up, or left a comment, or anything at all that you've done for my videos. I greatly appreciate it. I'm just trying to get my channel up and running, and anything you guys can do to help me get my channel out, I greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much. All right, it's my continuing series here, the 10 best series for the New York Giants. This time we have, and I'll leave a link in the description box. You can check the article out if you want. It's on Fansided. It's the New York Giants top 10 running backs of all time. And once again, it's subjective, but I mean, as far as what I got, what I'm seeing, the list is pretty much spot on. I'm not gonna. I went over to 10 wide receivers last night or yesterday, and I'll tell you what, it was almost a 24-minute long video, so I'm going to try to cut this one way down. All right, I'm not going to go too in-depth in detail on each guy, so I'm just going to start right off at number 10. We got Doug Kotar, number 44, undrafted, so he was an undrafted free agent. Yeah, he was with the Giants from 1974 to 1981. The Steelers got him. And 4 days after the Steelers got him, they traded him to the Giants. Well, very sadly, sorry for Doug, because he went from the top of Mount Everest to the abyss, the bottom of the darkest depths of the ocean. That's what he was drafted in 1974 by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who wound up winning their first Super Bowl that year. He got traded to the darkest depths of the abyss, the worst team in all professional football, the New York Giants, who went 2-12 that year. They were horrible. So sadly for him, he got traded to the Giants. If he was on the Steelers, he would have had, 74 and 75 the Steelers won. So if he was there for a couple of years, he would have gotten at least 2 Super Bowl rings. But it is what it is. He's with the Giants. He wound up with 3,380 yards rushing. He had 900 carries. He scored 20 touchdowns. He also had 126 receptions for 1,022 yards. All right. Now it just when he got drafted, I mean, the Giants were horrible, absolutely horrible. The 70s, their offensive line was absolutely unbelievably pathetic. And it's just a shame for him, when he got drafted, because he went to the worst team in football. Thankfully for him, at least for him, his last season with the Giants, he didn't play a lot in his his final season, '81, but he finally was on a winning team. The Giants in '81 were 9-7, and they went to the playoffs, and they won a playoff game. So thankfully for him, because he saw a lot of bad. He finally, his last season, he managed to make it to the playoffs, a winning season, and all of that, because from 74 to 80, Giants didn't have a winning season. And it's just one of those things. I mean, he played hard. Every time he ran the ball, it was like it was the last time he was ever going to touch the ball. I mean, he played hard. He played tough. He had some injuries, but it's just like things are relative, guys. If you took him and put him on a good team, like maybe the Steelers, maybe he's not a Hall of Famer, I'm not saying, but he would have gotten a lot more yards. Why? Because they could block. They had a good offensive line, had a good offensive scheme. They gained yards. He would have done far better with the Steelers. Now, if you took Franco Harris, who Steelers drafted in 1972, and you put Franco Harris on the Giants in 1974 behind that offensive line, and let Franco Harris finish out the rest of his football career from 1974 on, okay, behind the New York Football Giants offensive line. He's not a Hall of Famer. You know, it's just one of those things. You know, it's not that Doug Kotar was horrible. He wasn't the greatest of all time by far, but you know, he just got drafted he put on a bad team, and his numbers suffered for it. But not because lack of effort. He tried. He was one of my all-time favorites. Doug Kotar, number 44. He made it to 81, where they won the playoff game. They beat the Eagles. Next week, sadly they lost to the 49ers, 38-24. In 1982, the first day of spring training, he wasn't able. He had, I think, knee and shoulder injuries that he was trying to recuperate from, and he just couldn't do it. So he had to retire at the beginning of spring training. Shortly after that, he started complaining about headaches, and they got him taken to the hospital, and they found out that he had like a malignant brain tumor the size of a golf ball, and they figured they weren't going to be able to operate on it. So he spent like the next 14 months with radiation and chemotherapy and all, and just trying to hope, you know, to extend his life. But sadly, on December 16th, 1983, at the age of 32, Doug Kotar passed away. That's such a shame, such a shame. Good, tough football player. And it's a shame, because, I mean, one of the guys like that I always got, because those are the guys I grew up with. I started watching in the 1970s, so by 1974, you know, I'm 10 years old. You know, he was my guy. We stunk, but those are my guys, you know. So it was very, very shame. But he's number 10 on the list. Number 9, we got Ahmad Bradshaw. Okay, we got he was with the Giants from 2007 to 2012. Got him in the 7th round of the 2007 draft from Marshall. All right. He wound up with 2 1,000-yard seasons in 2010 and 2012. All right, he wound up his career with the Giants with 921 rushes for 4,232 yards and 32 rushing touchdowns. He was very instrumental, you know, for the Giants. Not so much in 2007. He didn't get a lot of action in 2007, but you know, total later on in his career, he was very him and Jacobs, boy. What a dynamic duo those guys were. I'll never forget them. And one thing I'll never forget is in 2007 when we were playing the 15th game of the season, and we were trying to win. We were up in Buffalo, playing Buffalo. And I don't remember exactly how it happened. I don't remember if Ahmad Bradshaw got in the huddle and said something like, just give me a hole, or something like that. And then, see, Sean O'Hara, the center, was talking about this. And I don't remember, I said, if it happened in the huddle, and Sean O'Hara was thinking it, or he said it. But Ahmad Bradshaw says, guys, just give me a hole. And Sean O'Hara either thought it to himself or said, he said, shut up, rookie. And they gave him the ball, and in the snow, you could see the snowflakes coming down. It was spectacular. It was marvelous. It was like looking at the Mona Lisa. Bradshaw took an 88-yard ran 88 yards for a touchdown to help seal the deal. The game still wasn't quite over with, but that kind of helped seal the deal and give the Giants their ticket to the playoffs. And they wound up being 10-5. They beat the Bills 10-5. The next week we lost to the Patriots in the final game of the season, 2007. But that run that he made helped seal the deal, helped get us into the playoffs, where we wound up winning the 2007 Super Bowl. So Ahmad Bradshaw, number 9 on this list. Number 8, my all-time favorite Giant running back, Ron Johnson. We got him from the Cleveland Browns. He was selected in the first round of the 1969 draft. Came out of Michigan. He played from 1970 and 1975 with the Giants. He only played, till 75. Injuries just caught up with him. A lot of guys. I mean, like Tucker Frederickson. We had the number 1 overall pick in 1965. We took Tucker Frederickson from Auburn, running back. He played from 65 to 71. He had to retire at the 71. Injuries. Same thing with Ron Johnson. The last couple of years, he's just really being slowed by injuries. But Ron Johnson, he was the first player in Giants history to rush for over 1,000 yards. He did it twice, 1970 and 1972, which happened to also be the only two winning seasons the Giants had from 1964 to 1980. They had two winning seasons, 70 and 72. Both those years, Ron Johnson had over 1,000 yards rushing. He wound up with the Giants with 1,066 rushes. He had 3,836 yards rushing. He also had 33 touchdowns. He had 189 receptions for 1,813 yards and 15 touchdowns receiving for the Giants. So he could do it all. Also in 1973, he had 902 yards rushing, but he missed 2 football games. So if he played the whole season that year, he would have had another 1,000-yard season. So he's my all-time because he could run and he could catch. He was very, very good. Like I said, but 74 and 75, he was just being slowed up by injuries. And actually, 1976, he actually signed a 1-year deal with the Cowboys, but he never wound up playing with them. Went from the Giants to the Cowboys. Whew. But Ron Johnson, number 8 on this list, my all-time. Ron Johnson, number 30, my all-time favorite Giants running back of all time. The number 7 is Otis Anderson. All right. He was with the Giants from 86 to 92. Now, he's not. Ron Johnson was a better running back than Otis Anderson was when Otis Anderson was with the Giants. I mean, Otis Anderson, his first year in 86, he had 81 yards rushing. 1987, his second year, he had 6 yards rushing. 1988, his third year with the Giants, he had 208 yards rushing. 1991, he had 141 yards rushing. And in 1992, he had 31 yards rushing. I mean, he had 1989, he had 1,023 yards rushing. Okay, his only other year was the Super Bowl year. 1990, he had 784 yards rushing. But so he had kind of like one good year and another nice year. But other than that, he didn't. We didn't use him much. I mean, Ron Johnson on horrible teams, okay, got 2 1,000-yard receptions, and he caught almost 2,000 yards in passes as well. I mean, he was far better running back for the Giants than Otis Anderson ever was. I mean, Otis Anderson might be, the way they have it here, have him in front of Ron Johnson, number 7, because in the Super Bowl against the Bills in 1990, he had 102 yards rushing. He had the 1 touchdown. He was the game MVP. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, so I guess maybe that's why he's ahead of Ron Johnson. But, I mean, Ron Johnson, when he was with the Giants, was a far superior running back than Otis Anderson was. Otis Anderson had a very good offensive line. He had a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. So, anyway, Otis Anderson, number 7. Number 6, we got Alex Webster, all right? He played with the Giants from 55 to 1964. He was for 10 years. He wound up with 1,196 rushes, 4,638 yards. He had 39 touchdowns. He also had 240 receptions, so he caught the ball a lot too. He had 2,679 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns. He was in 6 NFL championship games. Of course, we only won 1 of them. We won the first one, then we lost the next 5, but he was in 6 championship games. Okay, he was also the coach of the Giants. When I first started watching football in 1970, he was the coach of the Giants. He coached the Giants from 1969 to 1973. 1970 and 72 was the only 2 years that the Giants had winning football seasons. Okay, he was the head coach of that. Okay, but from 64 to 80, we only had 2 winning seasons. One was 1970, we were 9-5. The other in 1972, we were 8-6. So Alex Webster definitely deserves to be on this list. Okay, and he's number 6. Then we got number 5. They have Brandon Jacobs, all right, who was with us from 2005 to 2011. Then he came back. I believe he played with him in 2013. All right, 2-time Super Bowl champion. He wound up with 1,136 rushes for 5,087 yards and 60 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he was a beast. 2007, he had 1,009 yards rushing. Okay. 2008, he had 1,089 yards rushing and 15 touchdowns. Now, he never missed like huge chunks of time, but he was it's just the way he ran. I mean, it was just the nature of the beast. He just missed. He missed. It was the 7 years from he was with the Giants from 2005 to 2011. He missed 12 games. I mean, he missed a couple games here, a game there, or something. There was always something, nagging him because just the way he ran. I mean, when you just run as hard as you can into like a brick wall, you're going to get hurt. And he did. But he was very instrumental in both our Super Bowl victories, and we owe him a lot. So Brandon Jacobs, number 5 on their list here, what they have. All right, then we got number 4, Rodney Hampton, okay? Rodney Hampton was with us from 1990 to 1997. He didn't play much in 90. Actually, he missed the Super Bowl because he got injured. So in 1990, his rookie season, he really didn't play much at all. But we drafted him in the first round in the 1990 draft from Georgia, right? We even like the Georgia Bulldogs back then, too. He wound up his career with the Giants, 1,824 rushes for 6,897 yards and 49 rushing touchdowns. And he had 5 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons from 1991 to 1995. So he was very good. Very good, and he certainly deserves to be number 4 on the list here. Then we got number 3. We got Joe Morris. Right, he was with the Giants from 82 to 88. He was with us and won the Super Bowl in 1986. I mean, he had 1985 and 86. He had 2 huge years. All right, he wound up with 1,318 rushes, 5,296 rushing yards, and 48 touchdowns. The weird thing is, he had the 48 touchdowns, and almost half of them came in one season. He holds a Giants record for rushing touchdowns in a season with 21. He did that in 1985. So, 1985, he had 21. I think he had 14 the next season. So between 85 and 86, he had like 35 of his 48 rushing touchdowns. But he was one of the guys, I mean, he was just short, powerful, but he was fast. If you gave him a hole, he could take it the distance, and he did that quite often. I mean, he was very, very exciting. It's just that, he got used up a lot. He got, he was given the ball many, many a time, and it just started wear and tearing on his body. He missed the 89 season, okay. He came back, tried to come back with the Giants, but he wasn't fully healed, I believe, and they let him go in 1990. And then he wound up coming back and played one more season in 1991 with the Cleveland Browns. A very forgetful season for him. But, his main season was with the Giants, and he's number 3 on the list, and certainly deservingly so. He was very impressive when he was with us. Then we have number 2 on the list. We got Frank Gifford, all right, Hall of Famer. He was with us from 1952 to 1960. He missed the 61 season because of a hit from Chuck Bednarik, and then he played from 62 to 64. All right, he was on the NFL championship team in 1956. The Giants won the championship in 56. He was also the NFL MVP in 1956. He was one of those guys, he could do anything. He could run, he could catch, and he could throw. He wound up with 840 rushes for 3,609 yards and 34 rushing touchdowns. He also had 367 receptions for the Giants for 5,434 yards and 43 receiving touchdowns. So he wound up with 77 touchdowns for the Giants. Very impressive. He also threw, and he completed 29 out of 63 passes. Not an impressive percentage, but yeah, the 29 completions went for 823 yards. All right, that's pretty impressive. That's almost, 30 yards of reception. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And out of his 29, completions, he had 14 touchdown passes. So half of his completions went for touchdowns. So Frank Gifford could do it all, and he certainly deserves to be number 2 on this list. And of course, number 1 is Tiki Barber. Saquon Barkley's not on here because he's only had 2 kind of full seasons with the Giants. His 3rd season, the injuries. So I mean, if Saquon's on the team for a couple more years, you know, he'll certainly wind up on this list. But he's, you know, just the amount of time he has playing with the Giants, it's not enough to be on this list here. So, but Tiki Barber was with us from 97 to 2006. He wound up with 2,217 rushes for 10,449 rushing yards and 55 touchdowns. He also wound up with 586 receptions for 5,183 yards and 12 touchdowns. The last 3 years in the league, he had over 2,000 yards receiving and rushing. The last 3 seasons of his career. Okay, after the 2006 season, at the age of 31, and he got 2,127 all-purpose yards, right, rushing and receiving, he retired. If he just played one more year, he would have got himself a Super Bowl ring. It's very, very sad. He has 15,632 yards between rushing and receiving. Now, if he just played, he retired at 31. All right, he had a lot of bumps and bruises and all and everything. But if he was able to play a couple more years, like say 2 more years, and get maybe an additional 3,000 yards between passing and receiving, which was doable for him. Okay, he would have almost 19,000 all-purpose yards. He would, you know, he has 10,449 yards rushing. If he could have gotten another 1,600 and got himself a little over 12,000 rushing yards, he'd be like in the top 15 rushers of all time. And then you couple that up with like, say, almost 7,000 receiving yards, you know, or over 6,000 receiving yards, and you give him close to almost 19,000 yards between the two, and then especially if he would have won a Super Bowl, I think he'd definitely be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's just a little short because there's a lot of guys now that have over 10,000 rushing yards that aren't in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't like a league MVP. He never led the league in rushing. You know, he has 15,000 yards combined. I think he's going to be just a little short of getting into the Hall of Fame. But if he could have played a couple more years, got himself a couple thousand more yards, I think he would have. Sooner or later, I think he'd get into the Hall of Fame. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo!